What's up, everyone? Thralls Monday here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
Miller.
And we have an album review for you. So another one that came out that we had an eye on, I thought would be interesting to go over, was the newest offering from Hulder, the Eternal Fanfare. Now this is a mini album slash EP, I guess you can call it either or, but it's shorter than a full length. That's the main point.
23 minutes less than.
This also comes out on the 1st of July on 20 bucks spin. It's been formed in 2018, but since it's a one-woman project, this formed in 1994 when she was born, technically, I guess, right?
I mean...
it formed with her. So, yeah, that makes sense. Kind of. Maybe. Not really.
But if we're getting technical, 2018.
2018. In Washington State, this is her second EP overall. She has one full length, which got a lot of critical acclaim. I actually picked it up and thought it was pretty fucking good. And again, this is one woman black metal, albeit she does have two different drummers on here, but this is all written, composed, and put together by Hulder herself, which her actual name, I don't want to butcher on here because it was kind of difficult, at least to pronounce her last name.
Hulder is easy.
Hulder is much easier. She's originally from Belgium, and she moved here at some point, started in California, and then moved her way to Washington, and that is where she resides, in the forest, wearing medieval garb, carrying a sword and corpse paint. And yeah, no, I mean, you listen to her music, that whole look makes sense. Because this is very straightforward black metal, a lot of second wave sort of worship, like definitely going back as far as worshiping like Mayhem, early Dark Throne, I'd even throw in Satyricon on there too, but with kind of her own spin on it because, I don't know, there's a lot of different influences. Namely, I'd say folk metal is a big part of it.
Which is interesting to mix with the black metal thing, but she does it really well and it works. It's crazy and it works.
The song Sylvan Awakening was probably the one where I heard it the most. You have to get past the kind of long intro though, which I thought was, well, all right, 3 minutes of nature sounds and fire and like choirs, and granted, it sets the mood, but it does go on too long, and that's an issue that kind of comes up a little bit later. But you know, as far as setting the mood, it's good. I'm not the biggest fan of intros though, so you know. But when you get into the bulk of this, you get some straight up old school kind of raw black metal, but very well mixed for a raw sound. Yeah,
and in the second track, The Burden of Flesh and Bone, I noticed that the other ambient stuff isn't overbearing at any point. It's all really, you can hear everything, which is great and not typical of some of the black metal that I've listened to as of recent. And it's a breath of fresh air a little bit to be able to hear everything in there and still have that feeling of a black metal album.
Yes, this doesn't sound like a fucking Norwegian person screaming in a bucket while someone plays a Fisher-Price drum kit in the next room over.
Yeah, and it's just over everything or whatever, like
you know, the guitars definitely have like a hiss to them, but it's that raw kind of crackling.
Yeah, it's coming from the guitar. It's not some ambient bullshit that you're just putting on there for the fuck
it works. But you know, it creates the atmosphere, and that's the thing. Like you kind of want that cold atmosphere.
Yeah, but she does that without the bullshit.
Oh yeah, and you throw on her like really deep, like nasty, very throaty vocals. But she does a lot of cool things vocally on here. There's clean singing, and then there's layered cleans and harsh vocals, which that dynamic shows up in Sylvan Awakening and the title track on here. And I really like the different moods that she kind of conveys on here. Like Sylvan Awakening is very fast-paced, but it's driven by this black metal but folk metal riff. Like you listen to it, and we were listening to it as it going on. I was like, dude, that is a folky melody. Like, you can almost follow the meter with your hand. Like, da 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 da. Like that's really catchy, but it still sounds cold and maybe not like evil, but like ominously atmospheric. And
it's just odd.
Yeah,
but it works. It's an odd good.
And how the song flows, I think, is really, really nice because there's a lot of great melodies in this song. It's kind of, I don't know, triumphant in a way. Like it has this really kind of epic vibe, but when you get down to the title track, all of a sudden it shifts over to evil. It sounds like a fucking evil ass song. It sounds like, you know, like Dark Throne circa Blaze in the Northern Sky.
And I also like in Sylvan Awakening, the build-up works really well, and it works in a logical way, and it takes you there. And it's not like you expect it or anything, but she does it really well constructing that whole build-up in that song.
And it breaks the pace out of the blast beats well, too. Like, you know, blast beats and black metal I have a love-hate relationship with sometimes, because sometimes they just lay on that blast for too long. This one breaks up with some nice groovy pockets, and that really lets the melody shine a little bit more because you don't have the static blast behind it. And I kind of like how you get these big epic crescendos, and she layers the guitars and throws like very, again, triumphant sounding but dark, like melodic tremolo melodies on top. It just sounds really fucking good.
Melodic, bright, dark, like
it's moody.
Yeah,
it's a moody album.
It's a moody album.
Most of the dark moods, but moody nonetheless. And the drum work on here is pretty solid. And I noticed it was one Sam Osborne from Funebrand, who I did not know is the nephew of Buzz Osborne from the Melvins, which I think is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I had no idea about that, but he does a killer job in here. And then I believe on Burden of Flesh and Bone, it is Charles Corrin from Ascended Dead, who is a beast of a drummer as well. If you've ever listened to Ascended Dead, that stuff is intense death metal. But yeah, the whole moodiness of this album I think is really cool. Like how it kind of shifts around. Again, the title track is definitely one that stands up because, again, it starts off dark, evil, like very like Doom Mysterious, Mayhem sort of vibe. Maybe Burzum, but I don't like Burzum, so whatever.
I like that song, Eternal Fanfare. It sounds a little bit different. It's a different mood. The basses all wound up or jacked up a little too much for me. It seemed a little bit higher in the mix. What it did was I couldn't hear the guitars as well as I wanted to. If the bass was dialed down just a hair, it would have made the guitars come out a little bit more. And the choral background in that one too, it was a little high for my taste and up above and everything in the mix. But their vocals are on point.
Yeah.
But it's just the choral thing in the back. It just created too much of a washy noise over the entire music, which is done in black metal, but she's already established this album as being like top notch in that realm of like putting stuff over it, but not having that annoying sound over top of it.
Yeah.
And it kind of hits on that with the choral background a little bit. That's the only gripe I have in that song, really.
I like the idea of it, but not necessarily the execution, because I think the choral part was a bit loud, but the whole, how it shifts from like a very evil, dark song to like a little bit more triumphant, like, evil triumphs, because good is dumb. We've already established that years ago, back in 1986. Now, the closing song, I think, is really interesting, and this is kind of like a thing with this whole album or EP or mini album, whatever you want to call it, is I think that all the songs are very different. Like some of them have a similar vibe to them, but in terms of song construction and different elements they bring in, they all kind of bring in different stuff. And A Perilous Journey is definitely a very different one. It's much slower. It's much more doomy, somber, dreary, almost kind of bordering on like early Catatonia, Shape of Despair, like sort of that almost kind of funeral doomy kind of vibe, but executed in a black metal format. It's way more gothic.
Yeah, and it's super interesting, but for me, it kind of drags a little much after those other songs, especially in Fanfare. And there was this change like 3 minutes in where they hit this double kick thing, and it was, for me, it seemed like really abrupt and out of place on that part. I don't know what could have been different about it, but it just seemed too abrupt for what was already established in that song as being a certain pace and a feel. And then there's this double kick that just clicks in with this riff, and it seemed a little disjointed.
One thing that stood out in that song for me that was kind of a good thing and a bad thing was there was one particular melody that comes in. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. In fact, I think it's one of the most standout melodies on this entire album. But it comes at a point, like this is the big crescendo, like this is where it's building up to. And then it sort of just abandons it, and that melody does not repeat. This has like almost sort of like early Enslaved, like Frost sort of vibes, like epic, cold. It just sounds great. And again, comes to like the middle of the song, and then the back half of the song, well, it's good. It kind of plateaus. Like this was the moment where I felt like it was going up and it ascended the peak, and then they thought the mountain was taller when it actually wasn't. But I don't know, like I felt like that should have been at the end of the album, and that should have been the thing they built on, because it was just fucking grand. And then the rest of the song, I mean, it's good, but it does feel like it peters out on one melody. And it's the longest track on the album. It's almost 7 minutes long. It feels like it could have been like 6. And I guess it's not necessarily a gripe, but it was something I noticed. Like this one is kind of missing that in tune with nature sort of vibe. Like it definitely still has like that, you know, medieval sort of vibe in terms of the folky melodies and such. But like outside of the intro, like I kind of like that there were like more nature sounds sort of peppered in God's Lastering, which I think I said that right, maybe for the first time ever. Probably not. But I don't know, it was just sort of missing that because I kind of like that little, like brief little in tune with nature because I don't know, like you think of Washington, you think of the fucking gorgeous fucking parks and everything.
Yeah,
and
a place I want to go.
Yeah, Cascadian black metal is a thing, like Wolves in the Throne Room does it so fucking well. And I don't know, it's kind of missing that. But at the same time, what I got, I really can't complain very much about because it's well executed black metal.
Yes. That's why I'll go with a 3.5. For me, for black metal, that's very good. This is a very good EP. And the fact that, 4 years into this, she's killing it already.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I can't wait for the full length of this ideas that she's got working with this EP. And like you said, it's different. It's a mix. You can see where she's going with some of these ideas. And I'm just looking forward to seeing it executed in a full length.
I'm going to go 3.5 to 2. I really enjoyed this. It does feel, you know, again, a little condensed, but I like the fact that there's a lot of different ideas on different tracks here. There's really great atmosphere to it. I think the songwriting is on point. It's just sometimes I think like a few measures need to be cut down and maybe move something around. But other than that, like she has an knack for melody. Mm-hmm, she knows how to like get this raw sound, but actually make it tuneful. And I think that can be very difficult in black metal sometimes. But she's got it really dialed in and yeah, I look forward to hearing more from Hulder in the future. I like pretty much everything I've picked up. I just recently got a reissue of her demos, and those are cool too. Granted, you know, it has very raw production.
It's a demo.
It's a demo. It's a black metal demo. That should tell you exactly what it sounds like. But musically, like she's got like pretty much everything going for her, and I continue to look forward to hearing more from her because I think there's a lot of growth between every release. And while I don't like this as much as God's Lastering, which I might have said wrong again, this is still really good. I recommend checking it out and check out any of her stuff, honestly, because this is some killer fucking black metal. So if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, click the link down below. There's also a link down there to thrallsmetal.com where you get one of our kick-ass shirts. And any news on the festival in Denver that is about death?
Is about death? Yes. We have booked some bands, penciled them in. We're not making any official announcements. Those are coming soon. So make sure to subscribe. We will be making announcements on here. Check out denverdeathfest.com, Denver Death Fest on Instagram, all that stuff to get notified.
And with that, of course, thank you all so much for watching, subscribing, all that shit. We love doing this. We love that you guys seem to love that we do this. I don't know, there's a lot of love going on, and we're talking about black metal, and you don't think that's going to be involved with black metal.
It's music.
It's music and church burnings. Yeah. But, you know, it's fun. But anyway, we love you guys, and thank you for watching, and we will catch you later.